Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's obvious before you all start saying something, we are definitely in a different environment. Let me just get myself together. Hold on. Apologies to my guest. All right. Everything together. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, November 16th, 2025. And you are in the Java Cafe for Testimony Tuesday. But also, if a lot of you remember, or hopefully most of you remember, when the current administration went in, I found myself back where I was in 2020 when we went live for COVID and relaunched Your Healthy Java. Today is a episode of Your Healthy Java. However, it is in a manner that we're talking about impact and long-term planning for a lot of us, what we're aware of being CARNEY Hospital. And so through social media and some articles, I reached out to Reverend Jeffrey Brown, who is no stranger here to the Java Cafe. He and the Second African American Meeting House, 12th Baptist Church, at that time, I think it was King Boston or Embrace Boston, were one of the first investors in this platform. And so I find it, and again, he's not a stranger. And I'm going to do my best today to not make him think I'm doing what he usually thinks I do. And he knows what that is. And it's not going to happen today. And so I'm honored to have these great young men in the room today. First, I'd like to bring in, he's laughing in the background, so he knows what I'm talking about. I'd like to bring in the very wonderful young man, Reverend Jeffrey Brown, who is the founder of My City at Peace, well known in the community and throughout the nation around his work in peace and whatnot. And so, Reverend Brown, good morning. Good to see you in the room this morning.
Good morning, and good to see you, Rev.
And you're going to do what you usually do to me. Good to see you, sir. I would like to next bring in a young man that I've seen in community for a number of years now. And let's just say, there was a little media a spin about a year ago, some years ago, that he was considering taking a different leadership role in our city. But I'm excited to have Tom O'Brien, who is I believe in Tom, get me right, I don't have all my notes, but the CEO and founder of HYM.
That's correct.
Good morning to you, and I'm honored to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for calling me a young man. I really appreciate it. That's great.
I'm being very intentional today. Rev and I have a cadence that sometimes makes him think that I'm referring to him in the opposite manner. So you see, I'm being very intentional today. And so, gentlemen, I'm excited to have you here because, as I said, about a week, Rev, I think I called you almost 2 or 3 weeks ago and said, hey, I'm seeing some chatter around CARNEY Hospital. I saw that you two were involved. There's a history of you two working together, and we'll get into that later. But I wanted to reach out to have the conversation and then also share with you, a couple of things I'm sure you're aware of in community, but then also avail this platform for people to understand really what's going on directly from, with all due respect, from the horse's mouths. And so, Rev, if you don't mind, I would like for you to say good morning to the folks. And I'm going to ask you to define this whole CARNEY process of getting to this point. I do the one word thing. Define that in one word after you say good morning, and then we'll come back and have you formally introduce Tom, because he's not just some random guests. So, Rev,
yeah,
all is yours.
Well, good morning, Java family. It's just a blessing to be here to talk to you today. That's my testimony. I'm blessed. I'm blessed every single day. If I had one word for CARNEY, it would be community. I think it's very important for folks to understand that they have local people who care about the community, would like to see the CARNEY rise again, if you will. And so it's just a blessing to be here. Thank you. I want to introduce to everyone a young man who is the head of the HYM Investment Corporation. He is someone who I've been working with for many years, and it's been a blessing just to partner with him and for him to reach out to partner with him on this particular project, the CARNEY Hospital. None other than my friend, my good friend, Tom O'Brien.
Thank you, Reverend Brown. Well, it's an honor to be here with you, Reverend Brown, and certainly with you, Jimmy. Thanks so much for having us today. If I were to choose one word, I think on the CARNEY Hospital process that we're engaged in right now, it would be resilience. The resilience of this community to advocate for and try and find a healthcare use that can come back to that campus has really been amazing for the two of us to witness. I too feel very blessed to be here with you guys, and to be working on these kinds of issues in our city. So thanks so much for having us today, Jimmy. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Tom, let's just jump right in. And Rev, if you don't mind, you've been here and folks are familiar. Tom, when folks are first on the platform and moving in spaces of influence, either electeds, community leaders, developers, which, for a lot of people, there's some presumptions when you hear that word. And I think it's important for people to understand who you are as Tom. I've had the opportunity a couple of times to see you in community, chat with you. Reverend Brown works with you. You were involved or heavily involved with Embrace Boston. And so, you know what I mean? I want people to just get to know, with all due respect, who is Tom?
Well, thanks very much. So I live here in Boston. This has been my hometown. I grew up here. My wife and I, Patricia, have 5 children. And we're really just very involved in different aspects of the community. In my background, I worked for Thomas M. Menino in his first 2 terms. I was the director of the Boston Redevelopment Authority during that period of time. I loved it. He was a great mayor to work for. I learned a lot from him. I was a young kid. I first went to work for him when I was 29 years old. And so I learned a lot from him. And then after that, I went to work for a company called Tishman Speyer, which is a New York-based company, and then eventually kind of got this idea that perhaps we could build a company that would be rooted in Boston, trying to focus on delivering on the values that we care deeply about here in the city of Boston. And we've worked on a variety of projects across the city, from Cambridge to downtown Boston to Allston, Brighton, East Boston. We're in Revere. We're in a couple of different places, but really proud to be working together with Reverend Brown on CARNEY Hospital, and perhaps we'll talk about P3 and other projects as well, but we're excited.
Absolutely. Tom, I'm going to challenge you a little bit, because similar to electeds and other folks, you went right into the work. You mentioned values. Can you give us about 30 to 45 seconds of kind of your upbringing, and what about your life influences the values piece? Because as I said before, there's some presumptions when people hear the word, developer or whatever. And first of all of us are to some extent, quote unquote, capitalist. There's nothing wrong with attempting to gain wealth and do things like that. But I want the people to learn a little bit about you, what mixes your values with being a developer, because some people don't think it's, possible. And I want to know who you went right into the work. Who's Tom?
So for me, the most important thing about our lives, for my wife and I, is our faith. So we're what we would call, kind of progressive Catholics who care deeply about something called Catholic social teaching. So this is really about kind of a reading of the Gospels, and just really understanding that we only have 2 objectives in life, which is to love God and love each other. So that's what we've tried to teach our children. Our kids are here in Boston. Some of our kids, I have one child who's a graduate student in New York, one who's a teacher in the Boston Public Schools. She teaches at the Tobin School. I have a son who's the executive director of the Black and Latino Legislative Caucus in the State House. So each of our kids have tried to kind of be part of the community and work on that. If I could, Jimmy, just to kind of add one quick thought on what we do for a living. What we do is, we try to look at different sites, different opportunities, and try and figure out, okay, is this a site where we could raise the capital? Typically, the capital comes from an institutional investor. So these are often pension funds, municipal pension funds, or state pension funds, or the pension funds of building trades unions, things like that. They want a specific, rate of return. And so we jump in. The key to us is to be engaged with community in order to deliver on something that we think can hopefully add to some of the strength of the community here in Boston, and develop housing and kind of deliver things for people, and to do that within the context of how can we raise the capital to make that work. So that's kind of what we do for a living. I enjoyed it. I've been really blessed to be able to work at the intersection of government and investors and financial services companies and all those sorts of things, and do this work for now 35 years. So I love doing this work.
I forgot. Let's just name that we're both Menino alum, and there's automatically a bond there from that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because some of my first thoughts when you told us who Tom was, not the developer, but Tom as a person, when you started talking about progressive Catholicism and the Gospels, I can kind of see why you and Rev kind of rock together.
Background. Yep.
Absolutely. And so, you talked about community capital, Tom, and Rev, I'll come to you here. CARNEY Hospital was a big capital piece to the community. Rev, you and I talked about the mental health facility there and things like that. People won't remember Solomon Fuller and things like that. So we only have, a few, and as much as we talk about mental health, so it was capital for our community. And that area, the social determinants of health, are very interesting. I know you guys have partnered with our good friend, Dr. Basola and whatnot. So very much aware of that. Can you level set for us? And then Tom, I'm going to come to you. Well, maybe I'll go with Rev. Can you level set a little bit minimally where we are around that capital? And then Tom, I want to back up and there's been a lot going on in a short period of time. And so maybe to get a little bit of a quick history to how we got where we are. But Rev, where are we in this piece of ensuring that the health, wealth, capital that was on Dorchester Ave comes back in a manner, may not be exactly the same, but can have greater impact?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Tom can talk more about where we are. But the loss of the CARNEY Hospital was really devastating to the community. It was the second largest employer in Dorchester outside of UMass Boston. And people lost jobs, folks lost a place to engage in health services. But I think most importantly, there was a sense of community with the CARNEY, and that sense of community was lost with the closing of that hospital. And what we are all about is really trying to raise that community back into the city. The work that I've done with Tom, really centers around, how we look at sites and how, the impact on the site will build community. And so I would say, we're at a point now where we're attempting to do that.
Thank you. Tom, can you you worked in city government. In this case, the state was involved. There was, foreclosure and stuff. And so in a very layman's way, if you can, I have folks that pop in and whatnot and may not always be there, to hear the whole thing. And so in a very layman's, as expeditiously as you can and keep it comprehensive, I'll tell you what I know. Stewart owned CARNEY, and something messed up and happened. They got foreclosed on, and then the hospital disappeared. And can you enlighten us? And there's a whole lot of gaps because I only think I said 3 things. But can you, level set for us how we got here? And then Reverend Tom, we're going to have an open conversation about the community engagement. What are you hearing? What's the process been? So Tom, please tell us, how did you wind up getting involved in such a, when I can't figure what this, Tom, your face tells me that you know where I was going.
Well, yeah, we love, I would say, for Reverend Brown and I, we do love working on these complicated projects, and this one's as complicated as anything we've worked on. So just a quick review. So remember, the CARNEY Hospital was part of a group of hospitals that were owned by the Archdiocese of Boston in the early 2000s.
as the healthcare system.
Hold on, Tom. So there's an extra affinity or something here with you because. Go ahead, sir. Sorry, I'm going to.
It's true. I mean, you when you go by that hospital, there's a statue of the Blessed Mother up on the top of that statue, which for us and for my wife and I is a big part of her story at this time of year. I mean, just remember, the Holy Family was a refugee family, shortly after the birth of Jesus, and she's the person who kind of kept believing and was the always kind, always amazing person who kept everything together, as is true with mothers in every family, right? So there's that with this, but I would say just remember it was part of a group of hospitals. The healthcare system is complicated and has changed drastically over the last 20, 25 years. It's very difficult to sort out how to keep hospitals managed well and kind of move along. So the Archdiocese elected to sell those hospitals to Steward Healthcare, which was a relatively new entity at the time. And the Steward Healthcare people were simply, bad actors. They were really terrible in the way that they managed these hospitals. And it's not clear to me why somebody shouldn't go to jail for this, but somebody should, because there were clearly some fraud issues and a variety of things that happened. But what ended up happening was they borrowed money from a variety of large commercial institutions. In this instance, they borrowed a lot of money from a company called Apollo, which is a New York-based company. And so when Steward ran the hospitals into bankruptcy, Apollo essentially foreclosed on the real estate. So I don't think Apollo really wanted to own a hospital, but at the end of the day, they foreclosed on it and they ended up owning it. And the hospital closed and the doctors and all the rest of it went away. What that means, I think, Jimmy, at base is Dorchester is a community of 200,000 people. It's the second largest. If it were independent, it would be the second largest city in New England. And so now this hospital being closed means that city does not have a hospital. Now, I think for us, we're not sure that we can replicate a hospital. And quite frankly, this community deserves, something that's brand new and, and looks beautiful. I mean, these buildings are getting built in other communities around the region. And so this community deserves that same thing. And so it's hard to deliver on this thing, but that's our goal, to try and make it work. And so far, Apollo's been pretty upfront and direct with us. We've been able to work with them as we've worked this way through.
Tom, can I ask one question to your last couple of words there? That is one of the things, as I mentioned to Rev, I saw around, and I say chatter, not in a disrespectful manner, just what I see on social media and comments and in the articles and, people posting. That is one of the things that I'm hearing that people want. And so I didn't hear a no, but I didn't hear a hard, we're going back. And in real time, I'm just sitting here thinking with the way that so there is no hospital system involved with that property right now. And Apollo basically through foreclosure, not inherited, received it basically because of financial situations. And Tom, so also another thing, I know, you don't speak frivolously, that, some folks should be investigated around this. This is interesting. And so I don't want to get too deep into the weeds because I want to make sure that we keep it maybe high level for today. And as things progress, you guys can come back. So inherited through foreclosure, not a hospital. So let's just, and I, look them up. They are, and it's nothing particularly wrong. They are an investment firm. They're finance and investment. So healthcare is not their thing. And so Rev and Tom, how did it get to you all being involved to where it's not healthcare, but it's community? And then I got this in real time. How are y'all balancing Apollo, the desire for the same type of healthcare model? Ooh,
yeah.
Most wonderful part, community.
Absolutely.
Rev, you got to go first on that one.
Well, I think where we came in was that the Apollo group contacted Tom O'Brien and then had a conversation, and Tom elected to take on, this task of trying to bring a healthcare facility back to the CARNEY site. And then that's when he called me and said, hey, let's do this together. And I said, sure, why not?
So let's just level set and clarify. I'm sorry to interrupt that. Y'all didn't go after this.
No.
Somebody called y'all.
Yes.
Because even though it would have been fine, because Tom, you clarified how you and Reverend Brown partner. You go into situations with intentionality, but in this case, they called you. Okay, yeah. Rev, go ahead.
No, you know, they did call, and I mean, Tom can talk about that conversation, but you know, their intent is to have something happen on that site, and it's our intent to deliver a healthcare facility on that site, but it has to be done through our process, and they agreed to the process of engagement that we've been doing for the past several months.
Thank you. Rev, either you or Tom, if you pick up here, I've been hearing this term floating around, Article 80. Is that what gives you the ability to apply to be a healthcare facility, or does that more have to do with development? Can you school us real quick, Tom?
Yeah, it has more to do with development than it does direct healthcare, although all healthcare facilities in Boston must kind of go through this. So Article 80 is the part of the city zoning code that essentially says, here's the process by which you can seek the approval to build, you know, new buildings. And it's you know, something that has been in existence since, you know, it certainly, that process existed for decades and decades, but that Article 80 was reformed in the early 1990s under Tom Menino. And then most recently under Mayor Wu, her team has also sought to reform that and kind of make that more predictable for communities as well. So that process involves, you know, presenting a plan, making sure that people understand that plan, engaging with the community, receiving comments, and then engaging with the folks in the city, particularly the planning department, around what buildings would get built and when, and all those sorts of things. So it defines how you go through that process, essentially.
So Rev, let's go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
No, can I just add one of the quick things? So the idea of healthcare, though, is different. So permitting a hospital is something different at the state level, and so there's, you know, we're trying to thread a pretty tight needle here. This is a pretty complicated thing, but essentially what we're trying to do is work with the community, make sure that the community supports this, so that we can produce what would be a new building, new design, because that's, I think, what the situation calls for. It's what the community deserves, as we've said, and I think too that's how we attract a healthcare system. The thing that happened when the hospital closed was, you know, Steward went bankrupt, but they're at the time, we weren't directly involved in this, but at the time, there wasn't a hospital that ended up taking on this building and, you know, sort of replicating the hospital that Steward ran. And so the idea would be new building with a healthcare system that would run it, and that would provide new doctors, new medical care for the community. That's the objective.
All right, so we're level setting, because accuracy of information is everything. I'm just reminding folks, though not the logo, this is a Your Healthy Java episode, because there was a lot of misinformation, a lot of preconceived notions and whatnot. And Tom, I think you can appreciate this. Dorchester, the Black and Brown community, has went through a lot when it comes to developers and, you know, the intentions has went through a lot, period. And you talk about resilience, and it's a good thing. I've evolved around the term, because, you know, the way that you become resilient, you keep getting put in situations where you have to continue, you know, to be resilient. So with that being said, we're level setting that you all aren't doctors. You all aren't physicians, CEO, healthcare administrator degrees, and so you are tasked with developing this property with Apollo, with the hope and idea of a healthcare facility with, I think, affordable housing and some commercial. Before I go into that, Rev, Tom last talked about the process. How has it been? What have you done? You know, and let's just name, there can never be enough energy, money put into community engagement. And I say that in a good way, and then I say it in a way that no matter what you do, if Tom dropped $8 million into 6 community meetings, it still wouldn't be enough. But go ahead, Rev. I'm sorry.
Well, one of the things that I love about working with this guy is that he really loves community engagement. Now, I mean, sometimes, a community meeting can be like a quarterly Baptist church meeting. And, it could, you get some interesting stuff. But if you love people and if you love community, if you love the process, then, it's a good thing to do. We were able to be successful with P3 because we engaged in the community first before we came up with a plan. And so we're doing the same thing for the Dorchester community and for the residents and the abutters around the CARNEY Hospital. We're asking them what would they like to see. We've talked to just about every civic group that's in Dorchester and in Mattapan, just to make sure that we've got everybody's voice, at the table and everyone's ideas at the table as we put all of this together. And we've done that since September until now. Our last meeting was on December 4th. And so we've talked to civic groups, we've talked to individuals, we've talked to elected officials, we've talked to abutters, those folks who live around the CARNEY Hospital property, and we've had 3 abutters meetings. And so, it's a community engagement that we feel is necessary given the harm that happened in terms of the closing of the CARNEY and the feelings that folks had about, the steward group and, the process, with the city and the state and all of that. And so making sure we heard all of that. And then what has emerged from that is some really creative ideas about what to do with the site. And that's what we're considering right now.
Rev, there's a balance always with everything. And I don't really articulate comments unless I see a theme among some. And let's just also name that CARNEY didn't always have, there's a lot of comments about not having the best reputation. And also, I believe there was a couple of references to people transitioning due to not having the best care there. And so there's that balance as well. And so there's only a way to continue to go up. What I'm also seeing is this balance between commercial space and housing. Is the housing going to be for people? So affordable housing, Rev or Tom, if you don't mind, can we stay there for about 30 seconds? Because are you all familiar? Are there facilities in the country or around that are adjacent on a campus that have a healthcare facility? It will be almost a mini community.
Yeah. I mean, it will be. If you look around our area and you see some of the newer health facilities, you'll see that they're connected to some commercial properties, restaurants and things like that, and stores. And they're sort of like mini communities, right? That's part of the reason why we're saying that, this area, Dorchester, deserves, this process, because we'd like for it to be the kind of process that would attract businesses, that would attract, housing. One of the ideas that we've heard is that, we put senior housing on the site that would have things like rehab and memory care. One of the things that used to be on that site was a nursing school.
Yep, La Beret.
Yep. So can we bring some kind of facility that would help with nursing training in connection with with the school? And we've had conversations with the school around that. And these are ideas that are coming from the community, and they're saying, what about this? What about that? It's one of those times where it's devastating to deal with the loss of the hospital, but it's also exciting because people are like, well, what can we put there to make things better? And so that's the process that we're engaged in.
One of the things that the mayor said in her last interview was that unfortunately, COVID is a perfect example of this. In times of crisis, it does, because we're, the statement, you all started from the bottom and now we're here. There's nowhere else to go but up. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to honor, because this is one of the folks that brought this to my attention and seeing some social media posts. And Tom, if you can for us, because Apollo reached out to you, how we talked about the community engagement, they're giving feedback. How are you liaising, if you don't mind, and how is that liaising going with Apollo based on what you're reporting back that the community wants? Because this is not it's no cap for them. It's just fact. This is the healthcare is not, they don't do that.
Yeah.
And healthcare, from a financial standpoint, Reverend Tom, and Tom, you're in this space, the model of healthcare and the impact of everything that's going on with the potential of the American what is the Obamacare.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ambiguity. Hospitals are closing, layoffs, post-COVID. So even if the healthcare system was pre-COVID, I don't envy y'all space. Go ahead, Tom. Like, how are you liaising, and how is that liaising going with Apollo?
Yeah, you know, Jimmy, you've got it. And there's so much in that statement as you laid it out. You know, the healthcare system is really, really complicated. If you went to a hospital today and said to a hospital executive, tell me about, how things are going, they would say, we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough facilities, all those things. So it's hard for people to look at that and wonder, well, how could, CARNEY Hospital close? A lot of that has to do with the system of how healthcare gets paid for. So there are, there's private healthcare insurance companies, there's public payment for healthcare services. The importance of President Obama's work on healthcare means that healthcare, I think we acknowledge this, healthcare is a right for everybody. And so everybody should have access to healthcare. And previous to that, there were millions and millions of people who were uninsured. And so therefore really didn't have a predictable source for, obtaining their healthcare. So President Obama, fixed that. It's obviously been a back and forth at the national level. There's way more to talk about that. That could be probably a dozen different episodes, I think, with you, Jimmy, to unpack that. But in this particular instance, I think, again, what we're grounded in is, and if I could just add, I mean, the two of us, Reverend Brown, the way we came to this, we're not, we didn't start off as finance people. We started off more as government or community people. I mean, Reverend Brown, as you know, saved the lives of hundreds of young people in our city through his community work. And so the two of us kind of came up in a different fashion. So we're used to doing this community work, and we're grounded more in the city and what are the objectives of the city. We listen carefully to Mayor Wu in terms of her goals, her objectives. We listen carefully to Governor Healy, her goals, her objectives. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is say, return back to what we talked about earlier. This is a community of 200,000 people. It's one of the most diverse communities in the country. It's a fascinating place in which to work. And so for the two of us, the interesting part is we get to go to all the different civic associations. So there's probably, I don't know, a dozen different civic associations in Dorchester. We get to go to all of those. We get to have abutter meetings. We get to listen to people. And then reflecting back to Apollo, we're basically saying to them, the route here, the path here is a healthcare system. We think that healthcare systems will see this as an area, because there's 200,000 people, an area of demand. And so therefore, if we can seek to build a brand new building and attract the healthcare system, that will bring, doctors, nurses, and provide some relief to an overburdened system, and provide new medical care, new building for this community. That's what we're trying to do.
So you all also have the job of, after everything is done, to say hi. And I'm just throwing out random. I'll go on screen by myself so no one can. Hi MGH, hi UMass Medical, hi Boston University, hi Tufts, hi these big facilities, to come and say, if you're really about healthcare equity, here's a brand new building, and y'all come in and do what y'all do, and these 200,000 people need you. Tom, I want to mention one other thing, because in all, Rev, and you, Tom, knowing some scriptures, in all thy getting, get an understanding. Even the thing that is a disadvantage for the healthcare system, right, wrong, or indifferent, is when you are on a government paid insurance system, because there are so many, similar to like these big box stores and whatnot, they feel that they can tell the healthcare providers, if they can, this is the rate and it's here and no further. And that is a post-COVID, with all that's going on with the economy, the rate of how people, healthcare providers are being paid is interesting. And so it's just a trickle effect, a pendulum. Anyway, let's move it, because I can see that this is what I heard from you all is an opportunity to go more than just beyond CARNEY. I'm sure you all have other folks on the ground that are doing other things to support you all. Oh God, this I didn't know. I didn't know this was like so. I'll say multifaceted. I won't say convoluted. I'll say multifaceted. We're going to get ready to wrap up because I told you I would only hold you for a little while, and this was kind of last minute.
Let me just quickly say we do have a great team of folks. Catherine O'Neill, who is a wonderful community person, grew up in Dorchester. She's been our community liaison in this process, and of course HYM's team, with both John and Sarah. We've been doing a great job, collecting all of the ideas, and now we're engaged in the process of putting together a plan. Once we put the plan together, which will probably be somewhere in January, we will come back to the community and say, okay, what do you think about this, and get feedback. And then, if we get the support of the community, then we'll file the Article 80. So that's the process moving forward.
Can I add one other quick thing to that, Jimmy?
Please.
So at the time of the closure, the mayor and the governor named a task force that did great work. So there's a 60-page document. If people go to the city's website, or you can email us, we'll get it to you.
What's the email, Tom? I do stuff in real time. What's the email?
It's the address of the Dorchester. It's 2100, I think it is, Dorchester. It's the address of the CARNEY. Do I have it? 2100, I think. 2100 Dorchester Avenue at hyminvestments.com. I can send it to you, and you can
okay.
Around to your listeners. But people, should look at that. That's kind of our template. If you read through that, the co-chairs of that were Michael Curry and Dr. Ojikutu, as you pointed out earlier, who is two wonderful co-chairs who've been really great. We spent time with both of them to try and understand their thinking, and our hope is to deliver on the vision of Mayor Wu and honestly Governor Healy as well, to try and get this thing back online.
I wanted to mention, Rev, from Greater Love, and to your point, Tom, about there needs to be a community voice on this project and transparency. I hope if this goes through, there's a community advisory board, and we know our folks that we all move in these spaces and whatnot. And a lot of times I'll name that we may be in spaces and find out that we are further informed by what we think we know. And so having that respectfully high level folks that move in this space, and then the folks to keep us balanced, I think is good. So Rev and Tom, I want to thank you both. Rev, thank you for naming that there's more on the team than just testosterone, because that intentionality, that has to be there as well. And so Tom, I didn't know. I did not know. I did not know this. I did not know, a lot of your upbringing and background. And also, again, by quote unquote guilt by association, and just seeing the involvement with Embrace, I had a sense that you was a cool dude. But the values piece and this and knowing that Apollo reached out to you, y'all didn't go after this as some sort. I'm just saying that because lenses by which the community engages must be as crystal clear as possible. So then they come into the space without the noise and really talk about, and let me just say, it's not just needs. You need to come with some ideas and suggestions as well. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave that there. Closing remarks, anything. I know we're in the holiday season. I will allow both of you to give some holiday greetings to the community. Rev, I can tell in a couple of Tom's statements, he's been around your Baptist preaching. So
watch, I might have to give him a license. I will say that, and if I can just do it in a quick Embrace plug, we're coming up with our celebration in January. And among the awards that we're going to give, we're going to be giving both Tom and Patricia an Embrace Award for this year, because we're just very proud of the work that they continue to do. You know, I mean, Tom is the real deal. And you know, when we talk about this CARNEY process and P3, you know, he believes in building generational wealth for Black and Brown residents. And, you know, and I have never wavered from that, and neither has he. And so, you know, we're both standing tall on those things. And, you know, I just like his spirit. That's the reason why, you know, I'm going to keep hanging around him. So Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. And don't forget to eat plenty of turkey and macaroni and cheese.
This is your healthy Java, Reverend Brown.
Yeah.
Sorry,
all right, walk a little bit. You can walk a little bit.
you
Can I say one thing, Jimmy?
Greens, okay, you know.
What I don't, you know, hopefully your listeners, you have a very large audience, Jimmy, and I just want to make sure that the blessing we have to have Reverend Jeffrey Brown here, you know, for those of us of a certain age, remember the late 1980s and early 1990s, and we went through a period in the city where literally hundreds of young people each year were killed by handguns. And Reverend Brown walked toward that problem rather than walking away from the problem, and led a group of people and saved hundreds of lives and changed the course of our city. We would not be the city we are today if we didn't change the way we operated, and change the way policing operates in the city, and change the focus on how to, you know, think about community in our city. So it's a real blessing to be with him. I would just say, you know, for all of us, the one thing that's really important, particularly given today and leadership in our country, is to kind of really pay attention to being civil to one another, and being kind to one another in our speech. That to me is the key lesson. And I agree. I hope everybody has some great stuff to eat and hang out with family and all those things, which is good. Eat a lot. I know this is healthy, but have fun and eat plenty of food.
I'm sure you got me stuttering, Belinda. I'm going to get you for this. I'm sure you get the context of this, but Sister Belinda said Tom he invited to the church picnic.
I'm coming. Can I bring my bride? If I can bring my bride, we'll go.
Bring the bride, bring the whole family.
There's fried chicken at the picnic. I just want to say that. I know this is healthy. But
listen, during the holidays, I'm gonna, you know, I mess with the chitlins, Rev. So listen, let me get you guys off here. I really appreciate that. This platform is available. The good Dr. Charlotte James said, and she's someone maybe to tap into, Rev, because she runs the healthcare ministry over at Greater Love. And they just had a 2-day men's thing that they did. And so she's somebody to definitely tap into. But
reach out to me, okay?
Sister Charlotte, I'll get you guys connected. But no, thank you both. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and happy if you don't, any of them. And so thank you both for being here today. And again, we're available and it virtually help all that other stuff. So thank you both for being here, and I appreciate it, Rev. And Rev, we got through this with not our usual cadence. Sir,
I'm gonna leave it alone.
Me too. I'm gonna get you off of here before I mess up. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you both.
See you, Jimmy. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. I hope that you both, not you both, I hope most of the audience got information and clarity about what's going on, and an update over at CARNEY Hospital. And again, I know Reverend Brown, I literally, to what Tom talked about, I literally remember him walking up, I want to say Evans Street, when Stephen Odom was taken from us. And even before that, you know, just decades of work. And so I'm glad that we were able to bring this information into the Java Cafe. Not a lot of shout outs today. Hey, Sister Java. Did Misha get a name? I think she is Sister Java. Mama Java. We got to get Nikki a name. Mama Java, Sister Java, Middle Java for Nikki. I don't know. All right, we're going to wrap up, and we will be back with you. I want to take the rest of the week off. I'll be very honest with you all. But we'll be back with you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. to check in. Next Tuesday, we will be speaking. Oh God, what is her last name? I'll announce that later. We're speaking with someone next week. I'm drawing a blank. But we're going to have another testimony next week. And hold on. I had so much to say that I had to hold my tongue about. I really hope that there will be something positive for the community out of this. There needs to be a healthcare facility in Dorchester, and that is reliable and equitable. That is, but if somebody tapped them on the shoulder and said, "Hey, we want to work with you," the facilities, the providers I named earlier, they have to build that place and then basically, what's the word? Headhunt, market, attract, recruit. They have to recruit a hospital system to take over that building. So it's no cap for Apollo. These are facts. At what, and the state really can't do too much because this is a whole this is crazy. This is a whole private thing that through Apollo didn't want this. With all due respect to them, Stewart didn't pay their bills. Apollo foreclosed and inherited it or received it, and then now here we are. Now they did have enough sense to reach out to Tom, and then Tom had what I'll do. Tom reached out to Reverend Brown. So the other thing about this is when y'all hear about these community meetings, attend if you can virtually. I'll get the email address from Tom, and you can I think let me look it up, and I might just send a test one. Where is CARNEY Hospital? I'm tired, you all. And there's a testimony coming, and I'm not going to share. Mother Lisa is in the room. Mother Lisa, what's today? Today is the 15th. We got 16 days. And even if it's a step, we ain't forgot. Let's just get the address. So it's 2100. I believe what time. I'm going to test it right now. Hold on. In the meantime, I hate getting notices about meetings. Let's do a test. 2100 Dorchester. That was smart. Let's do that. Dorchester. Did he say Avenue at HYM? That's dope because as a developer, anything to do with that's kind of fire. Sorry. 2100 Dorchester Ave at HYM.com. Let's see if this test from Java. All right, we're going to give it a couple of seconds, see if it goes through, or if I get a more than likely an email like that. There's an auto response coming, so we'll see. Misha said CARNEY saved her life. So there's because I remember don't go to CARNEY. I was one of them. Don't go to CARNEY. Huh? They taking you to CARNEY. They can't transfer. So there's balance. Man, good to see you in the room, brother. Good to see you in the room today. Let me just see. I didn't get an email back. I didn't get junk. So let's just give it a second to see if it comes back. Uh-oh. Okay. Uncle Thaddeus, all of this takes time. Even the site I shared took 8 years to break ground. And I couldn't, I meant to mention that. Well, I showed it on the screen. So this what I said earlier about the lenses in which the community gives feedback and suggestions have to be as crystal clear as possible and away from the smudge and the noise and the fog, because everyone does not prioritize the overall communal benefit before their own individual goals. I pat myself on the damn back for framing it like that. Okay, now listen. One potential, one did. mayoral candidates in the room this morning. Good to see you in the room, Mingo. Man, get up. Nope. I'm not messing with you. Mingo said not all of us. This is a couple of seconds behind Mingo, so I may not have the full context. Brother Obi, Boston's photographer, good to see you in the room. All right, folks, we're going to get ready to go. And we will see you guys. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, brother. We will see you guys tomorrow morning. Absolutely. I see what you mean, Mingo. Yeah. So I didn't say all. I said there are some that you got to balance. Let's be 100. And we must find balance. Us as individuals, health, self-care, being able to pay your bills. But then also some of us are just gifted. Some would say the C word, CURSED. I wouldn't say that. Some are just wired in a manner that when you're aware of certain things, it just bugs you. You can't rest and sleep. And so now we have to get better with it. Because if you give over fully to that and not balance taking care of yourself, that will kill you. So I'm going to leave that there. We got Mingo going in this morning. Good to see you. I almost called you this weekend. We'll talk, Mingo. All right, folks, it's 11 o'clock. Union Capitol. I'm not staying on here 5 minutes. Y'all get an hour today. Union Capitol, you all get an hour today. And that's what, see, Obi, did you get my text? Hold on, y'all. Obi, I found it. So whenever you can, just hit me after, and I'm getting off of here, y'all. I'm being silly. Mingo, you have a great day too. Good to see you in the room. I don't want to receive no text or no memes today. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Oh, before we go, talk about community impact and community voices. Let's remind you that the Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront wants to hear from you in reference to use of the waterfront, ideas, what you've experienced, and also we need to talk about climate change and things like that and climate justice. So please be sure to make sure you go and fill out that survey. Put your favorite song on, and by the time you finish that song, guess what? The survey will be over. jwj.info/case sensitive CRIW, Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront survey. All right. So here it is again. Please go and fill out that survey. Thank you very much. And we will see you guys tomorrow.